I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. Welcomed as always by the one and only Angel Ortega. A lot to talk about this week. We got UFC Vegas 56 coming up. We got Cambosos taking on Devin Haney this weekend. We got some MMA news, boxing stuff to hit as well. Before all of that, as always, we're brought to you by Rogue Energy. If you want 10% off your order at RogueEnergy.com, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. With code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off of all your energy needs. It is hitting the summer. It is now June. If you're going out and about, maybe you're going to the fucking gym or something. Maybe you're going out and doing something. Get some Rogue Energy, guys. Keeps you amped, keeps you going throughout the day. I like to use it all the time. I want to go play disc golf and shit. So go ahead and get yourself something. RogueEnergy.com, code SOUNDOFF, 10% off. Amazing sponsor of the program, as always. No UFC to recap, no MMA to recap, really nothing. However, we do have a UFC card coming up this weekend. UFC Vegas 56 from UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Heavyweights. Alexander Volkov taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Not really a must-win in terms of staying in the UFC or anything that dramatic, but kind of a must-win for two guys trying to remain in title contention, trying to remain inside the top 10-ish area. Volkov's ranked number 7. Jairzinho is ranked number 8. Volkov coming off a defeat to Tom Aspinall in March. Jairzinho, on the other hand, has not fought since September of last year, which was a unanimous decision loss to Curtis Blades UFC 266. So Angel, not really a whole lot of buzz going into this card, not a whole lot of buzz going into this main event. First off, how do you like the fight itself? And also, give me your thoughts on how it's going to go down.
I'm excited, man. I think this is kind of an underrated fight. Jairzinho, we know how he is. We know, what is it, Josh? Mythical creature, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. What is it called?
It's like, yeah, mythical creature, last minute Rozenstruik. Or even last second, really.
Yeah, if you want to get to those numbers. And then Volkov, I mean, man, you kind of know what you're getting with it. You know what you're getting with Volkov, and I love the guy, man. Volkov's one of those guys I have a lot of respect for. I mean, even ever since we saw him here in Kansas, Josh, way back when on that DJ card, I don't know why, but I was just interested by the guy. Maybe it is the whole Drago persona, right? That they try to give him that I like. But I think it's a good card. I mean, obviously both these guys are kind of ranked around, respectively 7 and 8, and like you said, not necessarily a must win, but definitely one to stay kind of in the mix for potentially getting to a title. I think with Volkov and the whole like experimenting with the weight, going back and forth, coming in a little bigger, coming in a little lighter, just trying to find out, what he likes and trying to see what he wants to do. I think that's really good for him. And even I'll put it like this. One guy has been trying to make adjustments, change his fight game a little bit, learn some things. The other guy, ever since entering the UFC, has kind of stayed the same, Josh. We kind of know what we're going to get with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just, are we giving our predictions now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think as far as this, I'm going to pick Volkov. I'm always on the Volkov hype train, man. I just think and in general, I feel like he's one of the safest picks in this, like in the whole division. You know what he's going to do. You know his kind of style. He's very durable. He's capable of finishing the fight on the feet. I think for me, like, the only issue I have with him, sometimes he doesn't have the output. And against a guy against Jairzinho, I think that could be an issue if he doesn't, like, put it on him early on and try to just kind of, like, set himself as, like, the bully, and establish himself. So, and it's not like Jairzinho's ever, like, the super hardcore coming forward guy, but if you do let him, you're giving him a lot of opportunity, to get a big knockout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. And I definitely think this is kind of a fight which is not necessarily underrated, but not a lot of people are talking about it. I'm really looking forward to it, but man, I really don't see this going any other way than Alexander Volkov winning. I think if you look at Jairzinho, he's a powerful guy, but the biggest issue with him in his last few fights is kind of he's a bit more hesitant. I don't know what really caused it. Maybe it was the Ngannou fight. Maybe it was the Gon fight. I don't know really what it was, but he's been so much more hesitant as of late. And going up against a guy who's like, I don't know, like 6 inches taller than you, that's going to cause a problem. Volkov is probably one of the greatest guys. You see a lot of tall guys. Stefan Struve had this, for example. They know how to use their reach, but they really don't. You know what I mean? Like they kind of struggle with that sort of thing. Being kind of the taller guy, sometimes it works to their advantage, sometimes it doesn't. Volkov makes full use of the fact that he's the biggest motherfucker in that division. Like he uses his reach, he uses his kicks to the body. He's perfect at that sort of thing. Look, man, I think it's a rebound fight for him, honestly. I think I was really disappointed with his last performance against Tom Aspinall. Maybe it was because I didn't expect Tom to just go out there. Maybe I was sleeping on him too much, but I definitely did not expect him to run through him in the way that he did. I'm going to go ahead and pick Volkov here. I think he's probably looking for a nice rebound win. And Jorginho, man, it's just a tough matchup. I'm not saying he can't win this one, but he's going to have his work cut out for him, is what I think. But yeah, I mean, both these guys kind of need a win to kind of remain in title contention, and I do think it's going to be Volkov who gets the dub. But look, man, this card has some other fights on, some really nice fights. We're going to move on down to the co-main event. Dan Ige taking on Movsar Ilivev. Man, Dan Ige, I don't say he needs to win badly, but he is coming off of 2 losses in a row, 3 losses in his last 4 contests. Taking on an undefeated monster from Russia, 15-0, coming off a win over Hakeem Dawodu. He's mauled pretty much everybody's face in the UFC, with the exception of like Nick Lentz. That was a split decision, which I thought, honestly, probably should have just been unanimous. But regardless, dude, give me your thoughts on this co-main event. I like this one a lot. I feel like it's another fight that's kind of flying under the radar. So give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Good fight. Tough one for Danny Ige. I think as far as for Danny Ige, though, tough few fights recently, man. Hasn't been looking too, with the exception of his last fight against Josh Emmett, I believe, right? Yeah, Josh Emmett. Not a bad loss, but, definitely some hard fights. Been getting lit up a fair bit. So hopefully, we can see, I know maybe he can have a different look this fight. I'm not sure if he will though. I think he has a tough, Russian who I know in his UFC tenure, I don't think he's had a single finish if I'm looking at it right. Yeah, not a single finish since entering the UFC. Which is crazy because before that, before entering the UFC and he was fighting an M1, he had gotten multiple finishes. And, he comes from that Tiger Muay Thai gym, or at least he trains out of there sometimes. So it's kind of weird that with a guy with that kind of fighting style, we haven't seen, more finishes out of him in the UFC. So hopefully, we can get a different look this time around with him and, do something interesting with him. But I don't know. I think Danny Ige is too tough of a guy to finish. I don't know if he can. If he can get him out of there, I think that'll be a hell of a statement in his division. Maybe give him a bigger name in the division or another big name in the division after this fight. But I think Musafar has got this one in the bag this time around, Josh. I think he'll cement himself in this division and establish himself pretty well.
Yeah, same page. I don't want to necessarily say he has it in the bag per se, but I really do think it's a rough match for Danny Ige, man. I really do. Partially because I'm super high on Musafar. This kid's 28 years old. He's undefeated, former M1 global champion. And Danny Ige kind of feels like they're feeding him, man. I kind of feel like they're kind of feeding him here. Coming off of back-to-back losses, 3 losses in his last 4 fights. And taking him to undefeated monster in the co-main. Like I said, I just think it's a rough matchup for him. And if he could finish him, that'd be a huge statement. I don't think he will. I think it's going to be a decision win, but I think it's going to be a lopsided one. So yeah. I think Danny Ige has his 3rd loss in a row in the co-main event. Musafar, he gets moved into that top 10, and we'll see what happens with him. He's a guy that, at featherweight, everybody kind of talk about there's a lack of options for Alexander Volkanovski, and him and Max Holloway are so ahead of the division. I don't know, man. Maybe he's not there yet, but this kid has a lot of potential, man. So let's not sleep on it. But
no finishes in the UFC though yet, Josh. We need one. I don't think he's gonna, like you said, and I said it in my statement. I don't think he's gonna finish Ige, but I definitely, if he could get one here soon, I think it'd be kind of nice because he was one of those guys that before coming to UFC, he was getting finishes, he was getting head kicks, he was doing all that, but he hasn't gotten one. So, and obviously the competition's gotten better.
He's also faced all generally pretty fucking good guys. Sung Woo Choi, Enrique Barzola, Mike Grundy, Nick Lentz, and Hakeem Dawodu.
Yeah, those are all tough motherfuckers. Not to say, he none of those guys are unfinishable either, you know? But
Yeah, fair enough.
no, but he's looking for it.
Yeah, true. And if he can get it here, it'd be huge. I don't necessarily think he will. Danny is a pretty durable guy. But yeah, we'll see what happens there, man. Honestly, like I said, these top 2 fights are kind of, I don't want to say like being slept on, but they're kind of like setup fights. You kind of see what the UFC's kind of doing here, man. Like, great. I don't think they necessarily care about Volkov as much as they do Ilavev, but that kid has a lot of potential. But anyways, as far as the rest of the card goes, you went ahead and said in the green room that you overall like this card more than, speaking it like as a whole than some fights on UFC 275, which is next week. But go ahead and tell me which fights you're looking forward to the most on this fight night.
Oh, Josh, we talked about it last week, Josh. Alonzo Manifilt versus Askar Mazarov, the Ukrainian, 21-11. According to this, okay, I didn't know that. But dude, this guy looks like a fucking killer, Josh. We were talking about this probably 2 weeks ago when I saw him when I was looking at his record. This guy looks like a fucking savage, dude. Done some bare knuckle boxing. I saw he has some pictures out there with Chimaev. I saw some of his highlights. A lot of finishes. Big time hitter. He's a heavy hitter. Heavy hitter, Josh. Record, maybe looking at it on paper, isn't the nicest looking, but
well, he just real quickly. I hate to cut you off, but a lot of the reason why his record doesn't look that good is Angel. I'm not sure if you heard this, but apparently a lot of his fights they updated his tapology recently. And they updated him on SureDog. And a lot of those fights were reversed to losses. So do with that information what you will. But
hey man, those were early on. We don't know, you know?
Holy shit. So this is coming from, I hate to cut you off again. So I looked it up right now. And my boy I don't want to pronounce his name wrong. Alzulino. Great Italian guy. Go follow him on Twitter. But anyways, apparently he changed his name in order to erase a bunch of early losses from his record.
Oh shit.
Yeah, apparently he did some investigation.
And someone went back.
On SureDog. Apparently he changed his name. And that's why there's a lot more losses on his record. Because I remember we looked at his record like last week or something, and it was a lot better. And now today, it's like 21-11.
I mean, so it doesn't look bad when you look on the, like, if you look at from, like, 2017 and on, it's still not bad.
No, he's definitely improved, but that's wild, man.
Yeah. Like, I'm looking at it, and he was fighting, and I don't know if you see this, Josh, but, like, I went back, and he fought as low as 170, and now he's at 205, but he's also fought as high as a heavyweight.
Damn.
Yeah. So that's another thing. He had a lot of weight changes throughout his career. Until recently, where it seems like he kind of established himself as a 205er. Yeah. And then a bare knuckle one-off heavyweight fight.
And he fought in Dada 5000's BYB Extreme Series.
Oh, that's the one?
That's Dada 5000 promotion, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Karatenov was in that. What the fuck?
Yeah. They do pretty good out there. They do pretty good out there in Florida.
But yeah. I don't know. I still saw the highlights, Josh. The guy still looks like a fucking killer regardless. I think he's probably improved a lot since then. He comes out of that AKA Thailand gym, which, I mean, we don't want to speak bad about any gym, but I've heard some shit recently, you know? That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, man, regardless of his record and all the controversy there, this kid has a lot of talent. And I feel bad now for it may have sounded like I was shitting on him. I wasn't trying to shit on the kid. He has a lot of talent. We watched his highlights before. This kid's 27 years young, fighting out of Ukraine, has a lot of punching power, a very fun style. He's taking on Alonzo Manifilt in the opener, and you can kind of tell, most people tend to think, like, the best spot to be is the main event or the co-main event. And I've heard that argued by a lot of different people. I actually heard other people have a different point of view, and I agree with it. The best place to be is probably either the main event or the opener. Because you're going to fire up that fucking crowd. In this case, it's the Apex, so there's no real crowd there. I mean, they've added some seating, but you know what I mean. And they know, the UFC does that shit strategically. With the first fight on the main card is always a banger. So, and guess what's the first fight on the main card? This one. Manifilt versus Mazarov. So that's a banger, dude. They know for a fact that fight, those two dudes are coming to bang. And it's also one where, like, Alonzo Manifilt, I like the kid a lot. I say kid, he's like 35. But, I don't know, man. They're both going to come to bang this one. So yeah, that might be my most anticipated fight in the card, straight up. But, yeah, man, I mean, you went ahead and said it in agreement. This card's very underrated. I agree. Michael Trizano is coming back, and this is a guy that, I still don't know how good he is, because he won the Ultimate Fighter back, honestly, 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but he's so inactive, you don't ever see him. He beat Luis Pena, he beat Ludov Klein, 2 losses are Hakeem Dawodu and Grant Dawson. He's going to be fighting on the main card. Poliana Botello is going to be back, and then our boy Zaruk Adeshev Angel, our boy, he's going to take on Ode Osborne, and that's actually a really, really good fight. That's a really, really good fight. So I'm very excited for that one. Felice Herring taking on Karolina Kokavich.
Man, that's a name I haven't heard in forever.
I know, and I thought she was going to retire after her last fight. She's lost 5 in a row.
Ooh.
And it's very, very rare where they let somebody continue fighting after even 3 losses. But she's going to continue fighting through 5. So,
well, Josh, this is whoever loses this, I'm imagining he's getting cut. So at least Herring's on a 3 losing streak as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd assume so. Man, I like Karolina a lot, but I really feel like that war with Joanna and then just the Andrade kind of knockout really kind of ended her kind of career as she had some fights in between that. This is actually a rematch because they fought back at UFC 223. Yeah, man. I mean, I like her a lot, but she's definitely, you forget how old she is. She's 36 and she's been through a lot of shit. That fight with Yang Jiaonan where I'm pretty sure she broke her orbital. And she was shit blind for a bit. She went through some shit, dude. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that she's happy, but definitely, really kind of question this fight here. But yeah, man, Felice Herring is still good. I think Felice Herring just had some rough matchups. I mean, Verna Jane-Jarrell, Michelle Watson, and Karolina Kokavich, and she hasn't been very active. She tore her ACL at one point, so we'll see what happens there.
It's been rough patch.
Yeah, for both of them. For
sure. Josh, I know this is a random memory, but I'll never forget when Karolina was in the fight Joanna. I'll never forget the battle of the last names, you trying to pronounce both those names at the same time.
It was a struggle, but now I'm good at it. Now, Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Karolina Kokavich. It's pretty easy once you get used to it.
Well, at the time, also, we didn't have the podcast either, but I only could have imagined back then, because you were even struggling just trying to say it to me at the time.
In my defense, was I 15? When did that card happen? 2016? I would have been 15?
Somewhere around that time.
I was very dumb. I could barely speak English back then, so.
It was 2016, so yeah, you're probably 15 at the time.
Yeah, I could barely speak English at that time, so I don't know you're asking me to speak Polish last names now. I mean, fuck, dude.
Right? Now it's getting real hard.
Yeah, and by the way, that fight was a banger. It's an underrated banger, Kokavich and Jędrzejczyk. Because at that time, Joanna was unstoppable, dude. And Karolina rocked her. She had some success, but anyways, man. Yeah, I hope she gets a win. I've always had a soft spot for Karolina. She's one of the nicest people in MMA, straight up. So I really hope she can pull something off here. Yeah, as far as the rest of the card goes, Alex De Silva is back. I know that's your boy.
Alex De Silva stan. Number 1 Alex De Silva stan right here, my guy.
You're probably the only one. Yeah, he's back for the first time since September 2020.
There should be more, dude. There should be more.
You know what? For your sake, I'm also now an Alex De Silva fan. He's taking on Joe Solecki. That's going to be a banger of a fight, man. Joe Solecki's got a lot of talent, too. Kid out of Jersey. Really, really fun guy. So that's going to be a fun fight in the prelims.
I saw him make his debut, dude. I'll never forget on that. It was against Alexander Yakovlev. And the only reason I remember that fight very clear is because, oh my God, who got knocked the fuck out in that fight? I'm thinking of a different card. I'm thinking about the card where, oh my goodness, what's his name? The light heavyweight got knocked out. He's an English guy, I believe. He started fighting later in his career. Jimmy Manuel. It was a different card. That was also in Russia. This was the Overeem versus Olenek card.
Okay.
This is when the head started Yukin in it. But yeah, for some reason I always remember this card very, vividly in my head.
Fair enough. Yeah, man. And this card is like really deep, dude. I gotta give you credit. I mean, I didn't really kind of look at it, but now
I gave you a different perspective, didn't I?
Yeah, and I forgot Jeff Molina's back, dude. Jeff Molina is a bad motherfucker, man, and he's gonna be back. Missouri's own Jeff Molina, great guy, fighting out of glory, taking on Zalgas Zurabov, which is the dude has 2 wives. How could you not love that? Yeah, he has 2 wives.
That's balling.
And 6 children.
The kids.
So dude's balling out right now. But yeah, he's he's a pretty fun guy. He did get knocked up with Manel Cape last time though, so we'll see what happens there. And then opening up the card, man, gotta say it. I said it whenever, when you were talking about like potential future prospects and great people. Aaron Blanchfield, I'm gonna say it now. You can quote me on this. You can attach my name to it. I don't give a fuck. Aaron Blanchfield will be a future UFC champion. Don't even care. Don't care. I'm going to say it. She's 23 years young. She just turned 23 like 2 weeks ago. Like, she is so talented. She's taking on JJ Aldrich. I like JJ Aldrich a lot. She's actually like she's a pretty cool story. She's pretty talented. And she's been in a lot of fun fights. She's been in the UFC longer than you'd think, dude, since 2016. She's a 6-year UFC veteran, which is kind of weird because you didn't really think about her being one of those like long tenured people, but she is. And she's similar. She came to the UFC when she was super young. She's only 29 now, so she was around, Blanchfield's age when she got in the UFC. Regardless, this is a easy dub for her, and she's opening up the card. Very excited to see this one. So, yeah, man, I think we went and hit all the key fights that I personally want to talk about. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Man, I gotta highlight a few more, Josh. Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
Damon Jackson, Daniel Argueta, man. Daniel Argueta stepping in on short notice against Damon Jackson, dude. First of all, I gotta give a shout out to our boy Daniel Argueta. He was on that the last Ultimate Fighter season. He lost to our boy Ricky. And a good fight, I'd say, if I remember right. It's been a while. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I'm sure it was a banger. Since that loss, 3 wins in a row for him outside of the UFC and the LFA. Obviously, with him being in the LFA, easy signing for the UFC, right? And he got the call up. He's getting it. 145 though against Damon Jackson. So not his weight class. Tough guy. I mean, good luck to him. A lot of respect for him trying to come in on short notice and fight at a weight class he doesn't fight at, against the bigger man and, get a shot into the UFC, right? I mean, I'm sure they'll probably bring him back around anyways, because I think they give him another shot, all right? I guess it would be depending on his performance, but I doubt.
Yeah, most likely depending on the performance.
But I doubt to let him go that easily, especially if he's already, he was in the tough house, he's fighting for them on short notice, Mm-hmm. He's giving them a hand, so. He's one of the other guys on that season who I thought had a lot of potential, and I think I said it on the show too, Josh. There was a lot of guys during that season who I think could have been in the UFC, who could be in the UFC anyways, afterwards.
Yeah.
A debut I've been waiting forever, Josh. Renat, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Renat Fraktinov. The Russian, Josh. This guy got signed way back, not way back, but back in 2021. He fought Eric Splicey on UE Warriors, Josh. This guy, after that fight, was 20-2. He had never fought for any super big promotion. No Bellator, no PFL, no Absolute Combat, none of those, no KSW, none of that out there. Multiple finishes. Guy's 30 years old. Guy's a middleweight. Dude, this guy looks like a fucking killer, Josh. I've been waiting since 2021 for this debut. Over a year now. And I finally get it. I thought it was going to happen at some point during that year. It didn't end up happening. Now we're here, 2022. Give it to me.
Yeah, I think you're going to hit them all pretty well, man. Yeah, dude's got a lot of potential. But anyways, man, yeah, that's all we got for UFC this week. And I say that's all we got. We spent like 25 minutes running down that fight night card, which, generally speaking, whenever it takes us that long to run down a card, that shit's probably a banger. And this card's a banger. So very excited for this one. Like I said, going down Saturday from the UFC Apex. So there we go. And we do got some other box. It's very rare that we have. We always talk about MMA, and we'll have a recap and a preview, maybe even two recaps and 2 previews in a given week. Boxing outnumbers that this week. We have a recap and a pick and a preview to go over. We're going to go and hit and start off with last Saturday night from the Barclays Center in New York. Gervonta Davis taking on Rolly Romero. You know what, dude? We said it going in that Rolly Romero talks a lot. He's a really funny guy, mostly unintentionally, it seems like. And he has punching power. But, I'll say it. I think he outperformed people's expectations. In the end, though, he still loses via 6-round brutal TKO. Jervante steps in with a counter left hook, puts him not to sleep, but he had no clue where he was. Give me your thoughts on Gervonta Davis' performance and what do you think is next for him?
Exceptional as always. A beautiful finish, and I believe Josh. He didn't even throw a lot in that match, if I remember right. He was just kind of looking for a shot the whole time. I think it was wasn't it very low numbers, if I remember right? Correct.
It honestly reminded me a lot of Floyd. Honestly, he was very low output, essentially just reading to the entire fight.
Yeah, it was a very low output fight match out of him, and he was on the money, man, and landed and it connected. It was beautiful. From the left, if I believe so, and it connected, and down he went into the ropes, man. The ropes kept him up, and it's funny, Josh. I believe Rolly Romero afterwards said, "I've won every single round of that match. Look at him next time."
Yeah, and hey, I don't think he won every round. I thought he was winning. I didn't take a scorecard or anything. I thought he was winning, maybe 4 rounds to 2, but it wasn't like a blowout. It's such a Rolly thing, though, to be like, yeah, man, I want my rematch after, getting, viciously finished. I understand he was awake, but the lights were on, but nobody was home, dog. It was that, dude. He had no idea where he was. And if you know anything about Rolly, the fight got stopped, and he didn't say shit. That's the only time I've ever seen Rolly Romero not speak. So that's how you know it was a good stoppage. But anyways, man, dude. Gervonta Davis, impressive as always. Now, I don't think there's a whole lot to speak about this morning because it's kind of what people expected. I think most of the fun part kind of comes now, but we already previewed where he might go, and Ryan said he wants to fight him in December because Ryan just had a fight announced. He's going to be fighting, I believe, Javier Fortuna in July, I believe. So, yeah, man, he's already booked. But anyways, we'll see what happens there. But another just vicious knockout. One of the greatest knockout artists in combat sports right now. So very excited to see what happens with him next. Anyways, as far as other stuff in the boxing world, we're going to hit that recap. Not a whole lot to speak about there, but this fight this weekend, I am absolutely fucking psyched for. George Kambosos Jr. taking on Devin Haney, Undisputed. It's a lightweight unification fight. A lot of people say with too many champions in boxing, we're going to take one of them away this weekend. God willing, unless it's a draw. I think I just jinxed it. Anyways, George Kambosos Jr. back for the first time since his upset of Teofimo Lopez last November. Split decision win. Should have been unanimous. Clearly won. But regardless, that fight was a war, one of the greatest of the year. So he's taking on the undefeated Devin Haney. Devin Haney's been the WC lightweight champion for 3 years now. Coming off a couple wins. Very impressive. Joseph Diaz, Jorge Linares, Yurkes Gamboa. And now it's time, man. He's finally taking that big step up. He's 23 years young. He's one of those young lions that we talked about in this lightweight division for so long. He finally has a chance to go for Undisputed and to be that first guy from that kind of young pack that we talk about so much and so often to take the step and become a not even just world champion, an undisputed world champion. Angel, give me your thoughts.
Oh, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I think it's a banger of a fight. I'm happy to see these guys kind of get themselves in the mix. We've been talking about him since, not necessarily him, but we've been talking about these young guys probably since we started the podcast, Josh, back in, what would it have been, 2019, the year we started?
Yeah, 2019.
2018, somewhere around that time, right? Whenever we first started. And, they're still here, and it's taking a little bit, but hey, man, they were on their come up, and, just like them, we were on our come up as well. We're still coming up too, bro.
We haven't even begun to peak, so.
Yeah, we haven't even begun to peak. They're peaking, but we haven't yet.
Correct.
But, this is a big time. This is a big time shot right here, and this is time for one of these guys to establish themselves. And like I said, they're finally fighting each other. At the time, we didn't know what Cambosos was capable of, and there's still question marks, right? Like we were talking in the preview, we were talking in the green room, Josh, about the fact that there was some factors going into that Teofimo fight, and now in the Haney fight, well, from what we know right now, there is no lingering factors that could affect the match, right? We hope there won't be, right?
Yeah.
And let's see it, man. Let's see who dares to be great that night. I think we have two very talented guys here. I remember that when we were talking about the if we had to rank these young guys in the order of who will probably have who's probably the best. I remember Haney was one of the guys in the back, not too far back, but he was ahead of Ryan. I think we had Ryan. A lot of people had Ryan dead last. I had him, and it's not by any. It was just because Ryan had a lot to prove still, and I thought Haney had already proven himself more. And this was before Haney had captured a title, I think. And now he's captured a title. He's putting himself in these conversations to be one of the better guys out of these young lightweights. And but I still have a lot of questions, man. I think he's good. I think and that Linares fight, I remember he had this moment of I don't know if I think he got tagged. He got a little, he got worried, and he had to start boxing different. He had to sort of,
he had
to dig beat. He sort of had to clinch more, clinch him, punch and clinch, which, not really what you want to see, but, it was effective. It got him through it, but, I'm curious to see what he does against another talented guy like himself, and nothing to take away from Norris. Norris is also a very talented individual, but, I mean, it's a champ on champ fight, man. I picked against Cambosos last time, Josh. I'm not going to pick against him this time. I'm not going to doubt the Australian another time. New Zealand or Australia? I forget.
I believe Australia. I believe he's Australian.
I'm not going to doubt the Australian. Again, I'm not going to doubt the Aussies. So let's get it. Let's see it, champ. Let's see if you could dare to be great and beat this young lion.
Yep, it's time, and we're going to see it, dude. I am very psyched for this fight. As of now, betting odds essentially dead even. I've seen some sites where Haney is a very slight favorite, and I've seen some where, Cambosos is a slight favorite. Granted, I will say that is the minority,
Okay. I was going to say, this is a big prove themselves fight for both of them.
Yeah, correct. They both kind of need this fight, and granted, I don't really think that, Cambosos is a guy that, because of all the drama involving that T.O. fight, essentially T.O., his wife left him, and, he was going through a lot of shit, man. He nearly died in that one, which I kind of think it's kind of crazy that kind of went under the radar. I don't even think we talked about it, but he was essentially near death.
I think you might have talked very little about the podcast. I know we talked about it privately, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. He nearly died. Essentially, if he got hit in the right place, he would have died. And essentially, had a very low, what was it, lung capacity, I think, had to do with it. Anyways, yeah, it was an insane story, and there was a lot going into that. And I feel it was kind of his time to kind of prove that it was not a fluke. And I'm not saying the win was a fluke. It was a fight of the year contender, but there was so much drama coming out of that now is a chance for him to kind of put any sort of naysayers, any sort of doubters that, if there are any, to sleep. He's taking on this young lion. He's undefeated. Really not even challenged. I understand that he got rocked by Linares, but even then, that was a pretty clear win for him.
It was leading that way, but still, it was a moment.
It was a moment more so than it was a moment of adversity, but it's still a clear win. That's the closest sort of adversity we've seen him face. I did pick against Kambosos, and I'm going to do it again. I think Devin Haney. I said for a long time, he may not be the most entertaining. A lot of people give him shit because he's not the most entertaining guy, which I suppose is fair when he's at the top level. And he's kind of having more difficulties with these guys, but he's still clearly beating him. He's not taking as many risks. I don't give a shit about risk factor. I think he's going to go out there and beat him. I think he's going to outpoint him. I'm going to take Devin Haney via decision. I think he's going to take away those belts on Cambosos' home soil. I think he will. So I think he's getting, like I said, I don't remember how we rated. I know we rated him on the show like years ago. We talked about all those young lions. I don't know if I had him near the top. I know I had him near the top. You know what I mean? Maybe not maybe not number one. You know what I mean? I've been hot him for a long time.
I'm pretty sure we had the same list at the time, but granted, a lot has changed since.
A lot has changed.
That was before the Luke Campbell fight for Ryan. Tank had already been a champ, and it was before these last 3 or 4 fights he's had where he's knocked these dudes the fuck out. So before Haney had a title.
Yeah.
I can't. There might have been a 4th guy in there too. Teofimo in there. We had him in the mix. That's when he was calling for that. What's it called? That fight against Lomachenko. And he hadn't even fought Lomachenko at that point. So, or maybe he did. I don't know. But it was during that time, man. And like I said, a lot has changed. I think we had Teofimo and Tank near the top, and then we had Ryan and Haney in the back.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is before Cambosos was kind of in the mix for that. I mean, Cambosos is 30. He's definitely not in the. He's got 5 years on all these guys, I'm pretty sure.
He's 28.
Oh, never mind.
Still in his 20s.
Oh, never mind.
So.
For some reason, I thought Cambosos was 30.
Yeah. He's deceptively young.
Yeah, he's still he's in the same age bracket to an extent. But those guys are young, dude. We're talking like 25 and under, right? For all of them, 24 and under for all of them, 23.
Yeah,
and under?
roughly.
Yeah, like they're all. Yeah, I believe 24 and under for all of them.
Yeah. Anyways, man, this is a hell of a fight. I'm super psyched for it. I think Devin Haney's gonna do it, man. I think at the age of 23, I think he's gonna be an undisputed lightweight champion. And we'll see what happens from there, man. I mean, I do think the fact that it's happening on Cambosis' home soil a little bit frightening to me personally, given
man, Josh.
that I picked him via decision, but I'm still gonna go for it, man. I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna go ahead and stay with my pick. Man, I'm psyched for it though. And Angel, we're not going to give our pick for this, but it's not the only boxing this week. Well, technically, it's the only boxing this week, but next week we won't have time to talk about it because it'll be happening before we film. But Inoue Donaire 2 going down in Japan on Tuesday.
First one was a banger, so the second one should be, right? We hope, right?
Oh man, one of my favorite fights of all time. Just 12 rounds of absolute chaos. So.
You know how they say in MMA, like the second fight is not the best. I think it's quite the opposite in boxing. For the most part, it lives up to the second one, right? For the most part, I'd say, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the time those guys tend to a lot of boxers really take their time to feel, because there's more time in boxing. A lot of guys will take more than a couple rounds to feel a guy out. I mean, Floyd, for example, will essentially say, fuck the first 4 rounds. That's a normal attitude. In MMA, you really don't have that situation, and they'll go balls to the wall from the first minute because there's not as much time. There's only 3 rounds or 5 rounds. Yeah. In boxing, I feel like they kind of felt each other out, and I feel like the inverse kind of happens. Whereas in MMA, they kind of know what they're doing, so now they're,
And we've talked about it in boxing too, where it's like, you're not conditioned to go all out 12 rounds. It's impossible. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
You really have, in boxing, it's really, you gotta pace yourself.
No, for sure. And, yeah, but anyways, so, I mean, as far as moving on, man. So we did go ahead and touch on, those couple of big boxing matchups, touched on the UFC. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot this week, and to go ahead and fill some more time, and I really enjoyed doing the kind of topics last week, because we really don't talk about, news topics on this show. We really don't.
I've always wanted to more. I probably should have, maybe I should ask for them more, but I'm happy we did. They were really fun. They were a good change of pace, so I'm glad that we're doing them again, and I think we should do them more, Josh.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in the green room, which by the way, love that we call it the green room, but regardless, cause I enjoy doing them a lot, honestly. But anyways, as far as news, last week, Angel, Nick Diaz, who we've really not heard from since his loss to Robbie Lawler last September, we haven't heard a whole lot from him. Cesar Gracie, his coach, said that he's going to come out and fight again this year, which I didn't have necessarily a big problem with, but a lot of people hated it. Love that, hated the idea of him fighting again. Not only did he say he wants to come back, he wants to go straight to the top. He wants to fight UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Hold your laughter. Hold your laughter. I heard that snicker. He said he wants to come back. He said that he's 38 now. There's no point in him really fighting any of these young lions. If he's coming back, he wants to fight a big name and either a big name or a champion. And there's no bigger name and no bigger champion than Kamaru Usman, and that's what he wants to do. And believe it or not, there were some people who came to his defense. Your boy, Big John McCarthy, essentially stated what, I'd be cool with it. I'd watch that fight. He even said that Nick would tune him up on the feet. So. And that Kamaru would have to take him to the ground. So interesting take there, which was then promptly torn apart by about most of the MMA community. But Angel, give me your take on Nick Diaz coming back, and not only coming back, but to fight fight Kamaru Usman next.
I don't think that fight makes a whole lot of sense, Josh. I think Nick should be fighting Jorge Masvidal.
Ooh. Well, shit. Now you're saying, Angel, did you not read the topic list? You're segueing into our other topic. Because essentially what I was going to ask you after we talked about this was Jorge Masvidal and Conor McGregor going back and forth. Should that be the fight next?
Well, the main card should be, and the main event should be Conor versus Nate 2, Nick versus Jorge getting vengeance for his brother.
Yeah, so I'm assuming I'm glad
for
we're
the
kind of not
BMF title.
I'm glad that we're not even discussing the Kamaru Usman stuff, honestly, because what did Dana say? Remember whenever Conor leaked those DMs about Dana, and Conor asked for a fight against somebody, and Dana said, like, we should lose a promoter's license if we make that fight? That's what should happen if they put Nick Diaz with Kamaru Usman. They should lose their promoter's license. That'd be a homicide. And I think Kamaru Usman can legitimately beat both Diaz brothers on the same night. I'm being dead serious. And I love the Diaz bros. You guys know that. I love Nick, and I love Nate. But
you don't think they could stop and slap their way to victory?
No, I don't. I don't at all. I think he'd need like maybe a round to beat Nick, maybe 2 at most. And that's if Nick is in absolute his best shape. He probably won't be. And then he probably takes a couple rounds, maybe 2 or 3 to put away Nate. But that's essentially it. Although who knows. But regardless, Nick Diaz versus Kamaru, don't want to see it. I do like the idea of Nick Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. I like that a lot. I said for a long time that should be a fight.
We were down for that when he was making his return, which good thing he didn't make his return to that fight. God.
I gotta be honest with you, I didn't think he looked bad against Lawler. I really didn't. I did not think
No, it wasn't bad. It was a banger for the first however many minutes it was.
I mean, it lasted about 3 rounds, I think, I've always said, Nick was getting tired and he clearly didn't want to be there. I think if that's a 3-round fight instead of a 5 rounds, I think he probably stays in there and he might even win. Because he won round 1, round 2 is competitive, and round 3 he got hit. The huge shot, and you know what? He's like, I'm tired, I'm hurt, fuck this. Like, it is what it is. He's 38, he has his right to do that. But anyways, yeah, man, I think Nick versus Jorge makes a lot of sense. I think Jorge at this point, I think he needs to take a step back. And I think Jorge knows he needs to take a step back. You know what I mean? And I think that fight makes a lot of sense. Nick called him out after, Jorge beat his brother, and that was all the way back in like February 2020. Like, he called him out so long ago. They didn't really show any interest in making it, which is funny because they were actually nearly fought back at UFC 235 in 2019. Dana said that was a fight that they nearly did, But anyways, so as it stands, I think if Nick's going to come back, he needs to fight a big draw. I think there's a couple of fights that make sense for him, and I can honestly name them all on my hand. I think Masvidal makes sense. I think Conor makes sense at 170. I'm a little bit surprised because he hasn't ever showed interest in that. Because Conor, whenever he fought Nate, I mean, he was beefing with Nick at the same time. Because that was whenever Nick was like, he was active, but he was on suspension, He nearly fought Nick at that press conference where he punched Nate's hand. Do you remember that shit, Angel? Like, yes. They had beef, Like, if they want to throw that shit together, if Nate doesn't want to fight Conor, damn well Nick would fight him. Nick will fight anybody. It's kind of his point. That he wants to fight Kamaru. He's like, I'll fight. Like, he, even in, like, the context in that TMZ interview, he's like, I'll fight these young guys, but I don't see a point, But anyways, man, I think Nick versus Conor makes sense. Nick versus Mozilla make sense.
But you know what you're actually going to get, Josh? You're going to get main event Kamaru Usman versus Nick, co-main Cosmot versus Nate. That's what you're going to fucking get in reality, Josh.
We're going to see 2 homicides in one night. 2 of them.
That's really.
There's gonna be the Diaz bros killing. No, anyways. So they're gonna stalk him, slap him. They're gonna put him to sleep. It's 2004 all over again, baby. Nick's coming for that WEC title. Anyways,
WC never die.
WC never die, brother. Anyways, so yeah, I think Nick versus Masvidal makes sense. Nick versus McGregor makes sense. Nick versus Cerrone, Miller, Lozon, some of those older dudes, I'd watch that. But I think fighting any sort of top 15 guy at this point in time makes no sense. Like, Nick versus Lawler was a lot of fun. I thought people shit on that way too much, way too much. I mean, Nick had a lot of success in that fight, and especially considering like all the stuff that's going around him at the time. I'm like,
think it was a bad fight. I think it just had a kind of a sad ending, just like damn. But like we said, he has he had the right to do what he did.
No, he absolutely did, and I really he had his right, and I think he kind of knew that he was outgunned and he was tired, and hurt. I'm pretty sure he hurt like his leg or his knee at one point, if I remember correctly. Like whenever he got hit with that big right hook on the way down, his knee kind of buckled, so he was going through a lot of shit. When he broke his nose at one point. So if Nick was to come back and fight an older veteran, I'm cool with it. I don't really want to see him fight Kamaru Usman. And I'm assuming we're just gonna go ahead and segue past Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal, because I kind of said that was like next up on the thing, but they have been going back and forth on Twitter. A lot of people say that's the fight to make next, and I disagree. And
why would you do that, Josh, when you can do Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor?
I don't even think that's the fight. I think they got to give Conor a tune-up. And I'm not entirely sure who that tune-up should. Maybe that tune-up should be Nick, dude. I don't know. Because I think
that'd still be a hard fight. I mean, not to say like Conor's gonna get beat up, but I think that's still a very competitive fight for Conor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I could see it being, especially considering Nick is so much bigger. Mm-hmm. I mean, but Nick wants to fight at 170. Conor wants to fight at 170, so it kind of makes sense. And Nick he's 0-3-1 technically in his last 4 fights, and Conor's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. So it makes sense. Especially if Conor wants to fight at 170. Nick wants to. I think it makes a lot of sense. Essentially because like Nate's saying, "Fuck you, I'm not gonna." Because Nate Diaz is not a dumb guy. We haven't really talked about his whole situation with the UFC. They want to keep him around to fight Conor in the trilogy. Nate's not dumb. He knows that's why, and he thinks it's bullshit. So he doesn't want to fight Conor. I'm not sure if that's just posturing or if he actually is going to refuse to fight him. If that's the case, you might as well, dude, just a simple swap would be Nick for Nate. And the story is essentially the same. I understand that like they don't have that same history inside the octagon, but it's Nate's brother, you know what I mean? And so anyways, yeah, dude, I don't want to see Conor versus Masvidal next. I think both those guys need a tune-out, dude. I think the UFC is so they love to throw these guys just to the wolves, and I think at this point in time they can build the McGregor-Masvidal fight. McGregor-Masvidal with the BMF title on the line, Angel, put that shit in dude, fuck it, dude. If they're gonna do that fight, they gotta build that shit huge, because Masvidal, whether you hate him or like him, he's still probably the second biggest draw in this sport. That's just the reality. McGregor's far and away number 1. Masvidal's probably number 2. You let those guys get a couple wins in, maybe 1-2 wins, get them some tune-ups. Put that shit in Jerry World, dog. Put that shit in Cowboy Stadium, dude. The UFC's never done a stadium show. I think that's what they need to do, dude. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, I'm thinking large. UFC tends to like to kind of get the money fights now, so we might see that fight next. But I mean, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you think that they should try and build a Masvidal McGregor fight, or do you have any interest in that whatsoever?
I mean, I think it'd be fun. Still, I think. I don't know. I think they need to think big if they're going to do that. Because I feel like they need to be realistic. They got to be like, Conor doesn't have it might seem like Conor has a lot of time in this sport, but it really isn't, in reality, you know what I mean?
I believe he's 33, right? So, yeah, he's kind of getting up there.
Yeah, and Masvidal is pretty much near the end himself, he's a fucking damn near 40 now, right?
Shit, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you gotta think about that and take advantage of these guys, and plus that they want to get paid too,
Yeah.
So let them get paid. Let them get their payday. Or like someone said, dude, get these 4 guys, these 4 big guys on a fucking pay-per-view, and then just fill out your card with 12 and 12s, so you just can get the fucking bag.
Yeah, true. Yeah, man. At this point in time, I really don't think this fight makes a whole lot of sense. But I guess that's just me. We'll see what happens, though. The UFC is pretty clearly trying to angle for McGregor Diaz 3, so I think it's kind of like a mute point. But anyways, we'll see what happens. I really don't know what's next for Masvidal, though. With McGregor, there's a pretty clear path. The UFC knows the path they want to do. It's clear to every single person, but we'll see what happens, man. As far as we have a couple of fight announcements to go over, though. We're talking about fight speculation. We're talking about fight announcements now. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is set to return to UFC London, I believe in July. He's to take on our boy, the Monkey King, Jordan Levitt. this fight is, I love this shit, dog. I love this fight a whole lot, dude. I'm gonna be straight up. I love this fight. And for a multitude of reasons. Honestly, I saw Jordan Levitt even said, like, I'm kind of offended that he took this fight because he said he wants to fight easy guys. I'm not that guy. Like, it's the most, like, Jordan Levitt is not a fired up guy, but he's fired up, dog. Like he's excited about this one. I'm excited about this one too. Give me your thoughts on this matchup. Is this the right matchup for Paddy the Baddy at this point in his career?
Yeah, no, it's a fun fight. I think it's Levitt's a good guy, dude. You know, the record isn't as big as Pimlet's not, and Levitt's a crafty little dude. You know, I like him. I like his side and his personality. You know, I think he's a fun dude. And I think as far as both these guys, they knew what they were doing here. With they're gonna have, you know, their little fun antics. Nothing too crazy. I mean, Levitt's not a shit talker by any means, and Paddy really, I mean, he really isn't a shit talker, but he can if he really wants to. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think, but I think the matchup is fun. I think it's gonna be competitive. I think there's you know, they did a really good job on this one, to keep it simply.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I like this fight a lot. I know that some people are looking for, you know, for Paddy to fight somebody higher ranked, and I honestly think this fight makes as much sense as you're going to get because Jordan Levitt is kind of on the outside of the top 15, and, you know, he wins here. Whoever wins here, probably in that top 15, honestly. They're in the mix. Or maybe not in the top 15, but getting closer, inching closer, because, you know, Levitt's a fucking brutal division, so I don't think they'll be in the top 15. But regardless, I like this fight a lot. I like this fight a whole lot. If Paddy the Baddy thinks he's going to get an easy one with Jordan Levitt, I understand that he's a meme because he, like, twerks, and some people think he's, like, you know, a little bit fruity. I don't really care about that. That dude is a dog in the cage, so I don't really care. Yeah, man, I like this fight a lot. And we'll see what happens with it, honestly. And obviously, it's going to be one of those top fights on UFC London a couple months from now. So we'll give our predictions then. But man, I don't want to give my, you know, I don't want to foreshadow anything, take anything away from the show. But Jordan Levitt might be able to pull off an upset there, dog. Very excited for that fight. Another fight announcement we got here. So in July, UFC Long Island, there was a lot of speculation about this card. Notably, Dana White and UFC said that they want this card to be Colby Covington versus Khamzat Chimaev. They wanted it bad. Khamzat Chimaev versus Colby Covington.
For what event?
UFC Long Island in July. This is the one that Dana said that they want to have it on ABC, and they want to have those two guys because they're huge stars, and Dana wanted it bad. You know, he said that before, you know, Covington's last fight, you know. And, not Covington's last fight, excuse me. Chimaev's last fight. We're not getting it, Angel. We're not getting that fight. It's not going to happen. Instead, we're going to be having Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez, which is an interesting fight. Very excited for it, but it all but confirms that Covington versus Chimaev is dead in the water. So, Angel, give me your thoughts on this fight, and also give me your thoughts on the fact that Chimaev versus Covington is dead, essentially.
No, Josh. That, or Covington versus Chimaev, is actually going to happen in Abu Dhabi at UFC 281, I believe. That's what it's going to be, right? That's what it really means, Josh. What do you mean?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I suppose that's possible, but it really doesn't make much sense for that fight to honestly happen. I mean, especially for like an interim title, you know what I mean? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I'm down for it. Or maybe that's what they're trying to figure out.
I'll watch it for sure, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of like being, I don't know, it really happening much in any capacity. I mean, I didn't think the fight made much sense at the time, and now with an interim title makes even less sense, but
I don't know. They might be in talks with Leon at this point. Maybe they're trying to convince Leon to do an interim title with Leon and Chimaev.
Yeah, I honestly think that they should do that fight. I think that one, especially considering Kamara still has not trained yet, he's still not even cleared. And if this were any other fighter, they'd probably already make an interim. In fact, I feel pretty confident saying if there's any other fighter, they've already made an interim because they're already making an interim for poor Davis and Figueiredo. So, anyways, man, yeah. we'll see what happens there. As far as this fight between Yair and Brian, I like this shit a lot, dude. I feel like the featherweight division is constantly stuck in the mud, and I'm not really sure why that is. A lot of the guys just aren't very active in that top 5, top 10. But dude, I'm glad they're putting this one on. Very excited for it, and we'll see what happens. But I feel like people are kind of missing the fact that this essentially just means like, oh yeah, Covington Chimaev, that's essentially off the table, at least for what they wanted. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens in regards to this fight. I'm very, very excited for it. But kind of our last bit of news. Tough. The Ultimate Fighter has been going on. How many weeks are we into this? Like 5? 6? Nobody's talking about it.
I think we're going on week 5 or 6, something like that.
Nobody watches it. It's kind of a bit of a damn shame to me personally, because I honestly think that this season is a lot of fun. We talked about last season as well, and nobody really talked about Tough anymore, which I think is a shame. Which I understand why, because, you know, the Contender Series is around, and less people kind of care about Tough, and I feel like the UFC even kind of less and less cares about Tough, because they've really done very little advertising for it. But nonetheless, we're a couple of weeks in. We're going to go ahead and talk about it, kind of give our picks on who may potentially go all the way. I know, like, last season, we essentially, from week 1, we gave predictions. And I believe, like, we didn't necessarily win, but we did pretty damn good, dude, like, with our predictions. So, go ahead and give me your thoughts on the season so far to this point. Obviously, it's heavyweights and women's flyweights, and Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena are coaching. So go ahead and give me your thoughts.
I think it's been a fun season. We talked about it off air, how Amanda has been kind of like, we've seen how good of a coach Juliana has been, and Amanda's kind of been, I don't know, I don't want to call her bad, but, you know, hasn't been too great for her, you know. I don't think she's done anything crazy on the coaching end, but at the same time, I brought up how that could be like a language barrier thing too.
Yeah.
It's not like Amanda has bad English.
No, and I definitely think that sometimes, you know, people are a bit hesitant to, There are some, I mean, I'm trying to be careful with this because I think Nunes has the capacity to be a great coach, and I don't necessarily hate her for her coaching, but she has been a bit quiet. And you can tell that Juliana Pena, you can kind of tell that she came up through Tough. Like, she is putting her all into this shit. I don't know if she's gonna want to be a coach after, you know, she retires, from, like, actually competing. But dude, she is, like, putting a lot of, like, work into this shit. And I think she's been a great coach, dude. And I understand a lot of people may not like Juliana Pena, maybe because of, like, her trash talk, or, I don't know. I feel like she's not exactly super beloved by the MMA community. I feel like they kind of just on her. This season's, like, damn near entirely turned me around on her. Straight up. She's put in a lot of work into this. And I gotta give her full props, dude. And I think maybe I don't necessarily think Nunes has done a bad job. I think it's because Juliana has done such a great job that she's kind of Nunes is kind of getting overshadowed. Maybe that's just my view.
That's a good way to put it, I think. I think you could be right there to an extent. I mean, there is no head female coach at any gym, right, that we know of that's big time?
I mean, none of these female coaches, but not any head coaches, I believe. Not that I can think of. I'm sure they exist.
Oh, I mean, there's probably some out there, maybe in a different country that we don't know of, but we're talking like big time gym, big time fighters. Like, can't think of any head. I mean, I could see Juliana be in any fighter's corner because, I mean, dude, she is. I mean, Josh, I think I'm listening to a fucking seasoned veteran when I'm in there, Josh, when he comes back to the corner and she's giving her fighters adjustments and inspiring them and talking from the sidelines. Like, out of all, like, I haven't seen a lot of Tough seasons, but I've seen a lot of, like, the highlighted, like, stuff on YouTube, dude. She is probably one of the most active, outspoken ones I've seen out of all the fighters ever.
Mm.
I mean, she is really fucking good.
Yeah, for sure. She's really good. And I've seen a lot of coaches. I've watched, not every season and stuff, but I essentially watched the last, if I have to pull up this, let me pull it up actually out of curiosity. Because I've watched essentially every season, like the last probably everything from 2015 onward, I'd say, which was McGregor, Faber, that season. Even I went back and watched some of them, like Rousey, Tate, John Jones, Chael Sonnen. I watched some of the bigger seasons. Went back and watched them like years later. She's up there, dude. Like she's a great coach because you can tell she gives a shit. There are a lot of coaches who just do not care. And I think that's probably the worst thing, and I don't want to shit on Brian Ortega. You can kind of tell, like, Alexander Volkanovski, I thought was a pretty great coach. He essentially said, like, oh yeah, like, Ortega didn't care. And some people took that as like a slight against Ortega, but the reality is a lot of them don't care. Or maybe they don't care as much. Juliana Pena is treating these fighters like they're her kids. She is.
You're not even wrong, dude.
She's honestly, she's great, dude. Like, I became a straight up fan of Juliana Pena through this show. So, yeah, man, she's done a tremendous job. As far as the fighters, though, so we're not going to give predictions, but who do you think, like, of the fights so far and looking at who's on the season, who do you think has a chance to go all the way? Who are you most impressed with thus far?
Impressed with, like, have we actually seen a fight, or did I looked into to?
Looked into or even seen fight to this point.
I mean, I could give you, okay, so the guy who hasn't fought, Chandler Cole, I think, I mean, you haven't seen the newest episode, but he has some stuff going on that he's gonna have to figure out. I don't, so, but actually no. He's gonna fight, never mind, it doesn't matter. Thing is, I think he has a lot of potential going a long way. Obviously, Muhammad Usman, he's one of the guys I think number one going into this, probably had, like, a lot of, potential to, I think the main guys from here, Chandler Cole and Mo Usman on the heavyweight end. But we haven't seen anything, like I said, Josh, we haven't seen anything about this Jordan Heiderman kid on the season. He's kind of been like the under the radar guy. Outside of for the females, dude, I liked Laura Gallardo, who came in on short notice, dude. I liked her style a lot. She was the last episode you saw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw her. I thought she has a lot of potential. Same with the girl in the first episode, Kayla Neal. I really liked her too. Mm-hmm. On the other end, from the other girls, we haven't gotten to see them, but I know Juliana Miller, she has a lot of fights under her belt. I think she had a lot of amateur fights. I think she only has like 2 or 3 pro fights. She's fighting next week. Spoiler alert, Josh, she's the next fight.
Damn, spoiler.
And there's some other fighters that I haven't gone to look into. I know Hannah Guy's on this season. She fought Valerie Laredo. She beat her, in Bellator. Yeah. But even then, I remember Valerie gave her a damn good fight though. Anyway, so she like toughed out. She like survived that submission, and that fucked up her arm for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's some other good gals in here that I haven't gone to fully see. We haven't gone to see, and I've looked kind of into them. But if I had to give you like a little bit of a rough rundown on guys I've looked into and stuff I've seen, stuff I liked, stuff I didn't like, those are kind of like my main people that I kind of want to highlight.
Fair enough. Yeah, man, there's a couple of people that I'm personally big fans of. Caitlin Neal, I thought she looked good. Laura Gallardo, who we saw her last time out, I saw her last time out. There's technically been an episode come out since then, but, I know a fair bit of the female fighters on the season just because they fought in Invicta. Brogan Walker Sanchez is somebody who's very, very good. She's the one supposed to be fighting Hannah Guy. She was drafted 3rd overall, I believe, 2nd or 3rd. And she's 33, so she doesn't have a whole lot of potential to, like, maybe, she's not young, so she doesn't have that going for her, but she still has a lot of skill. She holds the win over Miranda Maverick. She had a close fight with Pearl Gonzalez, and she did have a nice fight with Aaron Blanchfield as well. So yeah, man, she's pretty damn good. Also, our boy Muhammad Usman, who had like a pretty big target on his back going into the season. I think he has the potential, especially given heavyweight. I believe he's 30-something, like 32. So most people kind of look at that and be like, oh, maybe he's too late for him. But heavyweight's a division where you can kind of be older and be fine. And I think he's pretty damn good. He lacks that. Maybe it's like the mental ability. Like he doesn't really throw that much. But whenever he does, it's got fucking consequences. You know what I mean? He's got skill. He's got to figure out some things, and I think maybe being with Juliana will help him figure that out. But yeah, man, there's a couple other people on the season. Maybe not the best fighter by any means, but dude, we got to give our props. Bobby Maximus got to be he's already turned out to be one of my favorites. Just gonna go ahead and say it. Bobby Maximus is a guy who used to fight under a different name. I'm not sure if it's a nickname or whatever it may be. But his actual name, his legal name is Rob McDonald. He fought in the UFC. He was on Tough 2, Ultimate Fighter Season 2. Most people don't even remember this because he wasn't exactly like a huge deal. He might have even been the last picked in back at Tough 2. I looked it up right now. He was the 7th pick on the second season, and that was 17 years ago, Angel. So he's not fought since 2009. And you can just tell, like, I watched his interview like months ago, and they had all these tough guys do press. He's a great dude. Like, I love his mentality. And yeah, man, very, very excited to see what he does. I hope they give him a shot after the season. You know what I mean? Like, most of these people from Tough, they'll give him like a one-off fight. You know what I mean? To see what they can do. We'll see what happens with him. But yeah, man, that's essentially all we had in the lineup. And as far as Tough goes, is there anything else we can talk about it this season before we move on to the next?
I'm always excited. I like the direction the season's going. I'm curious to see what happens here because there's a lot of newness team winners right now, dude. Especially on the heavyweight end. I mean, there's only one more heavyweight fight left, and it could be an all newness heavyweight bout. You know, going into the finals. It's always a little rough, you know, when two guys from the same team have to fight, man. But that's always a possibility. And obviously, you want to see your team succeed, and you would always, if you're gonna fight, if someone's gonna beat you, you want it to be someone that at least was on your side, the whole time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate when two people from the same team have to fight, but we'll have to see what happens there. One quick thing that I forgot to mention. Is it just me, or is it kind of weird that Forrest Griffin's essentially taking on the Dana White role for this season?
He did it. He was in the mix last season too.
Yeah, but like not in the same. He's essentially doing everything. Everything that Dana would normally do. Dana's there. I think he shows up for the fights, right? But he hasn't really done he hasn't done anything outside of that.
I mean, the season's already concluded. I mean, it's already done. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Dana's just been there for the fights. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I think that's a little bit funny. And I love Forrest Griffin. I'm glad the Forrest is there. I think he's a guy that, he's a great, like, MMA, personality guy. You know what I mean? Like, we really don't think about it too much because, like, he doesn't have, like, a podcast or he doesn't have anything. He's kind of a, not really a secluded guy, but he doesn't really do much. He just kind of works as a PI and does his shit. But I'm glad to see Forrest, dude. Like, I really am. He's a funny guy. So, yeah, and him talking about his, like, when they first had episode 1, he was kind of telling, like, his experience on Tough and he used to be a police officer, and then he just said, like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Like, it's better to regret the things in life that you do than the things you don't. I'm like, you know what?
That's kind of cool. I didn't know he was a cop.
Yeah, he talked about it. He talked about it before. He was a cop, and he was like he was an MMA fighter on the side, and he got the call, like, they were doing Tough, and they didn't actually, there wasn't, like, this was MMA back in, like, 2004, so it wasn't, like, a groundswell of talent, and he got a call from, like, either his manager or somebody who worked at the UFC, and like, hey, you wanna do this? He's like, nah, I really don't wanna, not really. I got a full-time job. Can't take all the time for that. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. He quit his job, decided to go for the jump, and now he's like a Hall of Famer, former champion, and, now he's there. So it's pretty awesome. But, Angel, this is the last topic of the day. This is actually not in the rundown, but I saw this right now. And I think it's kind of funny, so we're going to talk about it. So we talked about Jake Paul last week, who could fight next. Angel, there's a new name that has emerged in the mix. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't. Let me know.
Eric Butterbean Esch. You know Butterbean?
Yes.
Said he wants to do it. Said he's lost a lot of weight, and he's going to be ready next year. Gave him a year, Angel. He said he's ready. He's ready.
How much weight are we talking? Does Butterbean have an Instagram or any form of social media? Oh, he has a TikTok. No fucking surprise.
That's hilarious. 77 wins, 10 losses, 4 draws. He's coming from number 78, Angel.
I see Butterbean. Yes, he's lost a lot of weight. Good for Butterbean.
Right? Apparently he's working with a former wrestler Diamond Dallas Page. DDP Yoga is apparently a super big thing. He's helped a lot of guys, former pro wrestlers. Now he's helping Butterbean lose weight and say he's going to be good. So, yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on this. It's kind of funny, but Angel, this is really not much of a topic because this would be sad to watch now. But Angel, you take Butterbean from 1998. Do you think it beats Jake Paul now?
Oh my God. Probably, maybe.
I think Butterbean is the greatest mix of talent, but also like being a freak show. Because he walked around like 400 pounds, but also the dude dropped Larry Holmes. So like he's like he I mean, if you look at his record, most of those guys don't have Wikipedia pages, but also like, you know, he beat a lot of guys. He beat some decent names, you know. Yeah. Knocked out Luis Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, in super heavyweight's never really been, you know, like, is super heavyweight even really ever been a real division too, you know?
Not really, but he's technically he's like an IBA super heavyweight champion. Really, most sanctioning bodies just have them fight at heavyweight. They put no, like, weight class, like, cap on it. But, you know, shit, I don't know. All I'm saying, man, he dropped Larry Holmes, so shit. I mean, like, dude was good. So, I mean, I'd take Butterbean of 1998 to beat the fuck out of Jake Paul. That's just my opinion, though. But, nowadays, I don't want to see it. But, yeah. So, but at least Butterbean's losing weight. It's good to have, like, a target thing for him. So, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing Butterbean come back for, like, an exhibition. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty cool.
Who would you actually like to see Butterbean fight in an exhibition? I know this is, like, super off topic, but.
I don't know, because there's a lot of those guys who kind of, I don't really know, because a lot of those guys from that era don't really, I mean, shit. It wouldn't be Tyson. I don't want to see him fight Holyfield. I don't want to see him fight Lennox. I mean, I'm sure they can find somebody for him, but I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. Just based off of, like, the eras, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, shit, Anderson Silva. No, I'm joking.
Anderson Silva.
Fucking Mike Tyson. No, Roy Jones. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they could find somebody for him. Butterbean's a guy that, like, unlike a lot of those guys, he didn't have, like, a super publicized retirement. He kind of just, like, was fighting and then hung him up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they'll find somebody for him. You know what? If he wants to have an exhibition, fuck it. I really don't care. I mean, a lot of those old guys are coming back for one last payday. And I'd be cool with it. Like, you're telling me, like, you wouldn't, like, I'd watch him if Triller stuck him on a card and gave him a shit ton of money. Like, to fight some old washed up dude that I haven't heard of. Like, I don't know. I'd be cool with it. But anyways, yeah, I think that's kind of it. That's it for our rundown of forwards and news. Is there anything else that you're looking to talk about? Because I think we hit everything.
Nothing necessarily off the top of my head, man. I think we hit everything pretty good. I mean, I'm just kind of excited to get back into the mix, you know, talk, you know, what's it called, recap and, you know, preview and everything. We'll be, you know, back in the mix of everything normally.
Yeah. We'll be back in the mix, and, you know, maybe we'll go ahead and continue with these, you know, MMA topics and stuff like that. But we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that in the green room, guys. As far as the show goes, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _01 at Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.